Here is Basil now.
Guys, good-looking bunch of people. All right. Look at you babes, all of you. Fuck, you look good. Okay, I got to thank a couple of people. Fernando Pereira for doing the intro. Coming back from the future to do that. What? Go basic. And my lifelong friend, confidant, and inspiration, Lisa Dempster, who I couldn't have done this, gave me the time and space to do this. And the publisher, Tightrope Books, Hallie Villegas. And I was very lucky because due to personnel changes last year, she decided to be the editor. And with her sharp mind and sharp knife, saved me a lot of grief, pulled this mess together, and made me look like less of an asshole. And I'd also like to thank Nathaniel G. Moore, the talent relations head, who's done more in the past 3 weeks in that position than had been done in the past many years. And also Fernando again for designing that awesome cover and taking that awesome photograph. And Irina Nespiak, who is the cover model. And I don't think she's here yet because she's such a prima donna. Are you here? Oh, there she is. I saw the smoke rising. It's so scorching. And yeah, on the cover, a few people asked me, there's a quote from the author William S. Burroughs, the ... thing, which is kind of a joke in publishing, I think. You know, it's like always out of context. Considering he's dead, that's really out of context. He's been dead about 13 or 14 years. But it comes from letters we wrote each other a long time ago in the early 90s when I was extremely paranoid, and he was too. Sort of like the father of paranoia. And I'd met him in Montreal when he was doing these things called the shotgun paintings. And he loved guns, and he would fill his shotgun shells with paint and blast away at wood and metal and stuff and then just hack it together. And he was touring this stuff, these paintings, and we began talking about this idea of psychic parasites, that you can pass on madness like you pass on a cold or a flu, like a physiologically passed on like a bad idea. And so we corresponded a bit, and in one of those letters, I was mentioning this thing, and he sort of said, tongue-in-cheek, you know, we would be considered a morally dangerous outlook. So that's where that comes from. And so now what I'm going to do is, some of you have heard me do the first chapter on Mount Royal before, but I want to just go over it again because it gives people an idea, like a baseline idea of what this thing is about. So, yeah, okay. It was a long time ago. Montreal, spring 1989. Imagine that, eh? Last century. The sun crawls over the East End tenements, utterly exhausted and barely able to drag itself out of another night. Getting home, I see a couple of Hasids in stained white coveralls unloading a van at the fishmonger's on my corner. One of them grins at me, wagging his head. I climbed the long staircase to our apartment. Everything's quiet. When Jane stormed out a few nights ago, she again swore to never return. But I half expect to find her sprawled under the duvet, auburn hair spread across the pillow. Checking her bedroom, nothing. I flop onto the bed and catch a trace of her body's scent. 36, and she finally allowed herself to go out and devour the whole fucking world. Thinking of those sharp blue-green eyes dissecting it all so easily, I wonder if I'll ever see her naked again. I know chances are pretty good Jane won't be coming back this time, but shit, she should come back. She's come back before. We had some great fights in this apartment, real crockery smashing, wall-busting melees as the guy downstairs bays like a wounded dog. Our place is a huge high ceiling pad. It's dirt cheap. Takes up the top 2 floors of an old tenement a couple of blocks off the main. Yeah, it's drafty, there's barely any furniture, and the water pressure's worthless, but the rooms are grand. Crumbling stucco molding and ornate peeling wallpaper. It's an incredible luxury. The large salons Jane can hurl ashtrays across. Bowling alley hallways we roll and wrestle and tear one another's clothes off on the floors of the empty rooms upstairs. Who needs a bed? Best of all, Mount Royal looms right out the front windows, its eastern face maybe a mile away. And down here under our mountain, it feels like an open city. That wartime Casablanca kind of idea when civic leaders declare their town is sitting out this fight and the walls won't be defended. So sure, the armies can wander through to drink and fraternize, but no guns and definitely no marching. Commanders on all sides issue strict orders. Nobody will be raped, murdered, or molested. Nothing will be blown up, and people's belongings won't be seized. That makes the atmosphere relaxed and holiday-like. Everyone sleeps in a lot. No annoying air raid sirens. With its ancient buildings and broken, beautiful streets, Montreal is one of the last big Western cities where you can live in tarnished opulence without needing some idiotic job, which is why so many musicians, students, career welfare bums, and alleged artists gravitate here. Few of the lower-end Anglophone expats who live around the Main speak more than rudimentary French, but we all vote for those xenophobic separatist loons. You see, our strategy is meant to keep them in power and continue the, quote, flight of capital, unquote. This ensures the economy stays deep in the shitter, and our two favorite words remain posted in those big red and white signs you see on every street all over town, et loué, for rent. As I lie around wallowing, the phone rings a couple of times, stops, and then rings again. It's the code used by Al Polo, fellow rent exile from Hogtown. To see him, you could easily imagine Al riding a penny farthing, one of those old bicycles with a giant front wheel. Although he claims to be an actor, Al's real talent is an uncanny party radar. He can find a gathering of booze, drugs, people, and noise on a dead Tuesday night in the middle of January. It might occasionally be something like a bunch of second-rate hairdressers, but more often than not, we'll end up at some mind-blowing free bar and hot crowd soiree you'd normally only see in a movie. No time to be sleeping, Johnny. Yeah, so where were you last night, Al? I left early. Too many skinheads and off-island rustics. Listen, I received an important communique. Aunt Byron's coming to town. Aunt Byron, really? When? No ETA established. However, judging from our conversational subtext, I predict 2 weeks. So is this a visit or what? Unknown at this time. Byron plans to conduct some highly classified research. Our assistance will be required. So how's he doing with the big switcherama? Nothing's growing back? They say the body never forgets, phantom feeling and so on. First of all, it's she. And her transition has gone beautifully. No complications. Now it's simply a matter of emotional support and psychological reinforcement. And Johnny, keep the stupid jokes to a minimum, please. Al's coming on as if he'd used the scalpel himself and is worried about a malpractice suit. Sure thing, Herr Polo. So Hennessy tells me you nailed down some extra gig. Like everyone, Al cheers up when he can talk about himself. That's correct. I've been engaged to perform in a television commercial featuring incontinence bags. The elderly are a major growth industry, my friend. I strongly urge you to invest now. Old people. They're a fucking embarrassment. Exterminate the brutes. You're a real tonic, Johnny. Nevertheless, there's a situation which allows me to practice the thespian arts as a paid professional, along with procuring some samples for Mama. Now, let me paraphrase from the script. Al must be pretty excited. Sounds like he's getting to his feet. All right, then, he comes back on. I portray a man who strides past in the out-of-focus background, along a walkway in a well-manicured park. Perhaps he checks his watch, a furrowed brow, critical issues on his mind. Meanwhile, a very attractive elderly couple, in full possession of their faculties, waltzes happily in the foreground, eyes a twinkle. Eyes a twinkle. Holy fuck, Polo. So what's his war crime pay? $10 per hour, cash. Time and a half after 8 hours. $10 an hour. Christ, you're a dupe. Don't be naive, Johnny. Show business is all about favors and connections. Show business. Yeah, show business. For example, Karen at Ace Talent, the agency in the Cooper building, she's assured me if I play along in this advert, I'll be a shoo-in for full union scale and in focus on Eco Kids Rock. All right, I'm sitting down. What's Eco Kids Rock? It's an award-winning CBC television series. A team of young sex abuse survivors getting their little adventures saving the environment. Where's my machine gun? Oh, keep your hair on. I have to go. Mama's already begun her daily campaign of harassment. Perhaps I'll see you at Tony's. As old lady Polo yaps in the background, Al hangs up, and I recall how a few years ago, when we still lived in Hogtown, He'd been one of the first to decipher where that place was really headed. In a matter of hours, Al had packed up and left for Montreal in the dead of night. He threw Mama into a wheelbarrow and they slipped past the guard towers, razor wire, and minefields along the Quebec-Ontario border. I'd been stubborn enough to stick it out during the final days of the first developer war, driven from stylish loft to furnished room to unheated hovel. After being overrun by good-looking, credit-worthy ground troops, I rolled up my life in an old rug and arrived in Montreal during a February blizzard. Al and Mama Pola were living in a huge ramshackle flat at the north end of L'Esplanade. He stood in the doorway wearing a floor-length Ayatollah nightshirt and bobbed his head with that knowing smirk. "Welcome to our island refuge, Johnny." The moment I hang up, somebody starts riding the door buzzer, going crazy on the thing. I run down, ready to flip out. It's Hennessy. His usually crafty features are sweaty and distressed. He skips around me and heads upstairs, starts to rattle on about some government yenta who wants to be double-teamed. The hen says he's haggled her up to $150 over the phone, but she gets right of first refusal upon seeing the merchandise in person. With almost zero endorphins in my blood, the idea of performing three-way sexual calisthenics with some extra feisty stranger holds about as much appeal as a steak knife colonoscopy. She'll slam the door in our faces, I tell him. "You look like stepped-on cat shit. Christ, your skin's not even brown, it's gray." Hennessy adjusts his oversized bowler and brushes off the ragged black suit. "You aren't exactly appetizing either, you know. I wouldn't vomit on you if I was paid." "Well, that would depend on how much, wouldn't it?" "Hey, if you have any bright ideas, Johnny, I'm listening." Okay, so where's this hot to trot character? Outremont. She's a doctor, part of the inner sanctum of the Ministry of Culture. Inner sanctum of my ass. Will she write for us? She's not that kind of doctor. Oh, what the fuck? I've never understood this pretentious academic bullshit. What good is having doctor in front of your name if you can't write a goddamn narcotics prescription? It shouldn't be allowed. It's false advertising. Hennessy sighs at my kvetching. "Can we go now?" When we get to Outremont, the deal seems like it might be okay. Nice modernist box house with mellow Nordic box furniture. The quasi-doctor bureaucrat doesn't gawk at the sight of us. She wears a black catsuit, which isn't the best outfit for her short, wide physique, but what the hell, the woman's pleasant enough as we sit in some sort of ante-room chatting. Who knows, maybe she'll do most of the work. But then we find out what she really wants is to have us double-team her husband across his home office desk while she plays audience and jerks off with some adult toys. I glare at Hennessy. He gives me a weak shrug. Oops. Hubby's a snarky, cavey-chested, middle-aged guy. He's already down to nothing but a pair of blue and white Y-fronts and has patches of gray hair on his shoulder blades. "Where did you find these two specimens? They look like refugees from a palliative ward." "You wanted something street," his wife bitches at him, "so I found you something street." "Yes, Montreal street, not pox-infested Calcuttan gutter." He turns up his nose, looks away, and points at the door. The doctor lady walks us out. She gripes under her breath, offers a few mumbled apologies, and $50 as compensation. After we score from Benny the Bike Thief, Hennessy runs off to a sociology class at Concordia. The housebroken dog is consumerist metaphor in late 20th century Western society. Thank you, very kind. Thank you.